Hello everyone, welcome to SMG Hangouts. I'm your host, Mike Valente, and I'm sitting with host and broadcaster Gina Phillips. Thank you so much for coming in, Gina.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
I understand today is your birthday.
It is.
So happy birthday. And you know, Gina, this interview itself might be a little silly, but it won't be nutty because you and I are both allergic to peanuts. So this is a peanut-free interview.
Woo! Throw away the EpiPens. We don't need them.
Absolutely. Now, we're not here to talk about that, though. We're here to talk about your career.
Yes.
So you grew up in Calgary, is that right?
Yeah.
And then you moved to Toronto. Was it for the industry specifically?
Yes,
or?
it was. Yeah.
Okay.
I had to do one last internship before I graduated, but I'd already done internships and worked in TV in Calgary.
Yeah.
So I was like, why not go big for my final internship and try to get to the biggest market in Canada? So that was kind of my thinking at the time.
For sure. So when you started out in Toronto, talk to us about your first few jobs here in the industry.
It was interesting because a lot of my teachers at SAIT in Calgary were like, oh, Gina, that's risky. You know, going to Toronto, you should start in a really small market, which I totally get that. It works for a lot of people. But I was just so inspired by working in TV. Like, I was just not going to stop no matter what, right? The motivation was for sure there. So I ended up getting an internship at an entertainment show called Sun TV. They had news and entertainment. And it was just a little local show at the time before it turned into the Sun News Network that we all know and miss and love, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
The conservative news network that rose up and then crashed and burned 5 years later. So, but before that, it was just a little entertainment show, and I loved it. It was so fun to work on. For sure.
But being at that network too, like you really earn your chops there and get used to live television?
It taught me so much, and live television for sure, because we had no scripts, we didn't even have notes, we didn't use the teleprompter, even the main anchors didn't use a teleprompter, so it was just all fly by the seat of your pants. And at the time I was taking improv at Second City as well, so that kind of came together for me, and I got so comfortable just being myself on air, which is a concept that's hard to grasp when you've just been through school and you're trying to be the person you think you should be.
For sure.
But live TV immediately made me drop a lot of that.
Yes, exactly. Talk to me more about improv, because I find a lot of people that are starting out in broadcasting, especially on air, to earn your chops, so to speak, and kind of be more comfortable in front of a large group of people, or our camera in our case. A lot of people take improv classes. Would you recommend that to people who are...
I totally would. I think it boosts your confidence overall.
Yeah.
And it makes you feel like even if you fail, something funny or something interesting will blossom out of it, which is such an interesting concept for life too, right?
Yes.
What if I contact that person and they don't get back to me? What if I try to get that job and I don't get it? Well, then something else might come out of it. Maybe you'll end up in a career path you never imagined for yourself. That's really where you're meant to be. So learning how to fail was just so, I don't know, it changed everything for me.
Yeah, different perspective, right? Because I think a lot of people too, when they're young, especially being on air, you want that perfect take all the time. You want that perfect stand-up, that perfect read, but you can actually blossom with that, as you said, right? Like it doesn't have to be perfect, just be human and roll with the punches.
The problem is now when I'm given specific things that I have to say, or like given a script, my brain can't compute it anymore. Like it's a really weird, either I need to fully be improvising and just do it, or I need to memorize a script. But like the in-between is now what I struggle with.
That's very interesting, that's very interesting. So you're the host of Score Golf, but you do a lot of freelance projects as well. So you're hosting a lot of different events or projects all the time. So in terms of that variety, how do you go from, prepping for a Score Golf episode to hosting like a medical, conference or something the next day, right?
I don't know. I mean, I love the variety.
That's good.
So definitely the motivation is there to continue like that way in my career. But it is difficult sometimes. What I think I've learned is just to be myself at the medical conference interviewing surgeons as much as I am interviewing pro golfers on the golf course, because really they're hiring me. And if I just kind of keep coming back to that, I'm not supposed to be an expert in surgery. You know what I mean? Like when I talk to a doctor, my role, and I think as hosts we can get really worried that what if we don't know enough about the topic? But in truth, it's just about being in the moment with someone, listening, and truly asking questions because you know that everyone else, the audience, is going to have those questions too. So it's stop trying to be the expert, you know?
Be relatable. Right?
Yes, relatable, be a human on camera.
Yeah. Still do your homework, be educated and prepared, but just react to what's happening in front of you.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
You're answering all my questions before I ask them, but is it important to you to kind of incorporate your personality? It seems like it's kind of imperative.
I think it's everything.
Yeah.
For me, at least. I don't know why it became so important to me. I think it's why I got into TV in the first place. It's just really hard when you're starting out to be like, guys, I'm a great personality. Like, no one cares. You have to put in the work. Like, you have to do all those other jobs where personality does not matter. You have to really earn your stripes. And then finally, you can get to a point in your career where if you really want to be hired for your personality, you can be. And that was an amazing place to get to, that sometimes I'm like, wow, I feel really lucky about that. Some people would hate that. They'd be like, why would I want to be, like, I have so much more to give. I'm a fabulous, writer. I have all these opinions, whatever it may be. But for me, it was like, let me be myself, and I know that I can help translate whatever needs to be translated as long as I'm okay to just be me.
For sure, for sure. I would recommend following Gina on Instagram. Her Instagram stories make me chuckle all the time, so congratulations on that. But when you think about, moving forward in your career, is there like an ideal for you? Are you happy with this variety? Can you picture yourself doing anything else? I guess is my question.
I would like my next step to be producing my own show that I also host. So I do a lot of other people's content, right? Like I'm working different conferences for other production companies or working for Score Golf. Score Golf didn't come out of my brain. It matches me great in so many other ways, but I would love to have almost like full control over my next project.
Yeah, no, for sure. Is there something you've learned about yourself, like in your career specifically, in the last, say, 5 years that you didn't know back then that you kind of wish you did?
I think I've stopped being so anxious about moving forward and instead pay attention to what gigs I actually enjoy and to follow that. Because in the business, it's so hard to be like, oh yeah, I'm doing this thing, but how is that going to help me get to here, But sometimes those odd jobs and those weird interactions that you have or meeting great crew will get you there, and it's just a different path.
For sure.
So what I'm trying to focus on instead are the gigs that actually make me happy, like being outside, working for Score Golf. So important to me. Like, I didn't even realize how much I wanted to be outdoors for most of my life because so much TV happens in a studio. I want to be outside and I want to do positive TV. And that was, I was not a huge golfer or anything, but I applied for that job. Thanks to Shold Media, by the way.
Boom, there's your plug.
Sent me the job posting and I was like, oh. And then sure enough, like it was such a great fit and I'm not sure I really would have done it otherwise. So thinking of your opportunities more as, am I happy day to day doing this instead of, oh my gosh, is this going to get me to where I want to be?
Constantly worrying about the next step.
Yes,
like just getting rid of that. No, for sure. How do you view social media? Is that something you're conscious of every day where you want to promote yourself and build your brand, or?
It's so hard though, because I will waste time on social media. Like I will want to post something. I go, oh my gosh, that was a great moment. I should post that. And then I will get so distracted. I will actually end up doing less work in the end than if I had just ignored my phone completely. So I think it's such a distraction.
It is.
But you have to have a presence at the same time. So I think it's about, for me, as a freelancer, only dedicating a certain amount of time to it. So, okay, I'm gonna post today about my Utah trip, and then I'm going to follow a few people in the industry that I admire. Setting up little goals for yourself. Man, I don't even do this, and I'm like recommending it. But honestly,
that's what you want to
it's what I aspire to do, is to control my own use of social media a little bit better, so I'm not wasting time on it.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
And continued success. That's Gina Phillips, everybody, here on SMG Hangouts.